Michigan Replay with Bo Schembechler and Jim Brandstatter. Brought to you by the General Motors.
In the Michigan Replay, the Michigan football team retains the Little Brown Jug for another year with a 48-7 victory over Minnesota. How did it get to be 48-7? You told us last week that these guys were tough.
Right.
Well, how did it get to be that way?
Well, in both cases, last week against Purdue and this week against Minnesota, we made big plays in the kicking game, and we capitalized on some turnovers, and we hit some big plays. And that combination led to 48 points.
You said after the game that really you can't blow this team out if it's a straight game.
Right.
They had to help, and they helped with turnovers.
They helped with turnovers and partially blocked punt and punt return for a touchdown, fumble. Those things are eventually going to kill you. At the same time, we didn't turn the ball over.
You put the challenge on the defense last week about stopping this option quarterback. Well, they did it.
Yes, they did.
Are they good enough for you?
Well, they were certainly good enough in this game. There's no question about it. But when it started, they were featuring the fullback on the option and giving the ball to him, and he found some yardage in there. Here's the option play, run to perfection. Used motion to block our strong safety here, and he roared out for a first down. So they're at midfield real fast.
At this point, it did look a little tough.
Right. 3rd and 5, and old reliable Mike Hammerstein somehow had the starting counter. He had something because he was in the backfield before they could even get turned around. So that stopped that play.
This is a great run by Jamie Morris.
This is a screen pass, and Jamie breaks it back across the grain here, gets into the open, got a couple of blocks, and took it down into their territory, and that was a big play, and certainly the key play in setting up our first touchdown drive.
And then you just power the ball in.
Right. This is Jamie Morris in the power sweep, breaks through for 11 yards and another first down, and we're in 4-down territory and running the football. Gerald White, who I thought had an excellent game for us, picks up good yardage, and we're down in there ready to score on the first drive.
Yeah, this is your first possession. You couldn't have asked really for a better drive, could you?
No. The big play was the screen, put us into their territory, and then from then on we banged it home.
And again, the defense came up with big plays, and it was one of those things where they always continue to, and here they get a fumble.
They get a fumble here, and Andy Moeller gets the football for us, and we're deep in their territory and ready to go again, but didn't go, Jim. We failed to move the football effectively. Mike Gillette kicks a field goal, and with only our second possession, we're ahead 10-0.
That field goal ties a season record set by Bob Bergeron, and again, they come back, and the defense, Ivan Hicks in this case.
Ivan Hicks intercepts. This is the option pass, attempted to hit the guy, you know, faking along the line of scrimmage, and then raise up and hit it. Ivan was in position and picked it off.
Were you aware that some of those things were going to happen in this game? Did you have them defense like that?
Well, they worked hard on those option passes, because when you throw the ball from the line of scrimmage, it's difficult for your backs. They don't know whether to play option or pass. Here, Jim rolls out and hits Eric Caddis for a first down. Here's a big 3rd down and 8 situation. Jim goes back and hits Paul Jokic on the post cut, coming from the backside to make it 17-0.
And I think a great job by Harbaugh recognizing single coverage on Jokic.
Right, and Paul got by him. David Arnold, our freshman safety man, poured through here and blocked a punt after we had once again stopped Minnesota, gave us field position inside the 30. Jim comes right back and on a 3rd down situation hits Gerald White for the first down, just shy of the 20.
When you talk about getting help to score all those points, the reason is you get blocked punts and you only have to go 30 yards.
That's right, that helps. Here's 3rd and 4. Jim hits the outcut to Jokic for a first down. And we're down inside the 10, 3rd down and goal to go. Back to pass, and Jamie comes out the backside over here and runs in for a touchdown. We're ahead 24-0.
At this point, the crowd was a little problem earlier, but maybe the crowd was out of it by now.
Well, once you get 24 ahead, they really don't bother you nearly as much. Our next possession, Jim comes out on first down and throws to Eric Caddis, who gets good yardage, and we're in their territory again. Jim goes back to pass once again, and this time catches Paul Jokic on a great catch here. Beautiful play. The official was right on it and called it a touchdown, which was accurate. But Minnesota people didn't like that. They didn't think that he held the ball.
The rule is the ground can't cause a fumble.
He had the ball put away. He was running on the ground, and so it was a good call.
They come back with Alan Holt at quarterback.
Holt at quarterback now, and this is their big drive just before the half, taking the ball down in, and Holt does a good job, hits a couple of passes here. They're down in there ready to score. They're racing the clock, and this is a fourth down play, I believe, right? And he got in, but however, they were illegally in motion. So they take it back 5 yards, and you see me pointing it out there. that man was illegally in motion.
The referee made a good move on that.
So Holt goes back to pass again. The receivers are covered. He takes off running and, of course, doesn't make it. So that was a big lift. We went in at halftime 31-0.
At that point, 31-0, you had to feel great. And the other thing I think that really made it was the fact that you did stop them just before the half. Right. Tremendous emotional lift for your team, tremendous down for theirs.
Right. That was an emotional stop there, and of course we needed help from a penalty, but I want you to know there were two big penalties that took them down there with a chance to score.
All right, we've got the second half highlights coming up, and the second half includes a record performance by Jim Harbaugh, the quarterback of Michigan, so stay with us.
All the credit has to go to the offensive line. I've never had so much time to throw in my whole life. Twice we caught him in man-to-man coverage, and Paul Jokic did a really good job, getting open, beating the man coverage, and making a spectacular catch in the end zone on that one. Records really don't mean a whole lot. The only thing on our mind is the Big Ten championship.
Well, it wasn't nothing, but it was the right return, and I went up in the middle, and I thought everything was to the right, so I went to the left, and I was gone. I've been waiting for a touchdown for 4 years, and it finally came, and when I saw it, I just took off.
Nice to see a youngster like Gilvani Johnson get that touchdown. He's played a long time and really deserves one of those, doesn't he?
Yes, he did, and he's got good speed, as you saw. Once he broke into the clear, we knew at midfield he was going to make it.
With the big lead, we talked about it last week against Purdue. Were you as leery of Minnesota's offense maybe coming back as you were against Minnesota, or Purdue, rather?
Well, they did that against, they came back well against Michigan State after they were down by 31, and so you're always concerned about that. I think the important thing when you have a big lead at halftime is what do you do when you come out of the locker room at the beginning of the game.
Well, you did it.
That's the key.
You did it. And I tell you, Jim Harbaugh is getting to be one of the best quarterbacks I've seen throwing on the run.
Yes, he's done that pretty well, that's for sure. Here we are in the third quarter now, and Jim didn't find anybody open, so he scrambled out here and hit Eric Caddis. And Eric made a great catch, and you'll notice he fell on the ball there. We had to take him out for a play or two. But we failed to get the ball in the end zone here and had to go to the field goal, and Mike Gillette kicked it to make it 34-0.
And that breaks the single-season record by Bob Bergeron. So Mike Gillette now, the most prolific Michigan kicker. But the defense was the story of this game again.
This is 3rd and 7. You can see linebacker tips the ball, and we're around the ball pretty well, doing a good job in there against their passing attack now, which, of course, they're going to have to do to get caught up here. This is Jamie Morris breaking up the middle for good yardage in our next possession. Jim goes back to pass again and scrambles out here. Now they have a 3-man rush here, so we can. He's running around here, and I don't know.
You don't necessarily like to see that, do you?
Well, I like to see it when he hits Jokic there for a big first down, but And then we go back to running the football a little bit, and Gerald White breaks up the middle for good yardage. I thought Gerald played a good game, ran hard, and did an excellent job. This is Bob Perriman in at fullback now. He bangs in there for good yardage, and we're down in there again. And on the off-tackle play, you can see Gerald goes in standing up for the touchdown.
And if there was one drive that maybe put it out of reach, that was it, because it was 90 yards.
That's right. To me, that was a 90-yard drive for the touchdown, and that took them out of the game.
And the defense continues to play. And, and I think that's one of the key things of this team. Even when you got the big lead, well, they're still in there going at them.
They're still in there going, that's right. And, of course, we gave a lot of defensive guys a chance to play in this game the second half, which was good. Here's Gilvani Johnson on catching that ball inside the 20. And you can see here, by midfield, we knew he was gone. Right there at the 50, we knew he was gone. All they had was the kicker left, and and that wasn't good enough to get him stopped.
And had the kicker caught Gilvani, you'd have had a few words for him, wouldn't you?
No. Well, I don't know how fast that kicker could run.
Well, Minnesota came back later and did get a touchdown late in the game to make it 48-7. But you look at the game, your offense was making big plays. Your defense stopped the option, which you challenged them with last week. Right. You're peaked, right?
I hope not. You know, the biggest game of the year is coming up next week, Jim, and I hope we haven't peaked. But we played pretty well the last 2 weeks, and our ball club is excited about the Ohio State game. We're really looking forward to it.
I think one of the keys, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but Mike Hussar came back, seemed to solidify the offensive line a little bit, which has been hurt by injuries. You had to feel good about that.
Right. Mike came back, played about 2.5 quarters in their guard at the strong guard position. And I don't know how well he did, but I think once we study the film, I think you'll find that he blocked pretty well in there. He's been off for 6 weeks. And it'll take a little time for him to get back. So this game was great in that regard because it got him back in there with a chance to play and get back in the groove.
Michigan keeps the little brown jug. Stay with us because coming up now, we'll take a look at part 2 of our series on the NCAA death penalty. The pros
here, and he roared out for a first down. So they're at midfield real fast.
At this point, it did look a little tough.
Right. 3rd and 5, and old reliable Mike Hammerstein somehow had the starting counter. He had something because he was in the backfield before they could even get turned around. So that stopped that play.
This is a great run by Jamie Morris.
This is a screen pass, and Jamie breaks turned the ball over.
You put the challenge on the defense last week about stopping this option quarterback. Well, they did it.
Yes, they did.
Are they good enough for you?
Well, they were certainly good enough in this game. There's no question about it. But when it started, they were featuring the fullback on the option and giving the ball to him, and he found some yardage in there. Here's the option play, run to perfection. Used motion to block our strong safety.
And victory over Minnesota. How did it get to be 48-7? You told us last week that these guys were tough.
Right.
Well, how did it get to be that way?
Well, in both cases, last week against Purdue and this week against Minnesota, we made big plays in the kicking game, and we capitalized on some turnovers, and we hit some.
Michigan Replay with Bo Schembechler and Jim Brandstatter. Brought to you by the General
From the Michigan Replay, the Michigan football team retains the little brown jug for another year with a 48-7.
Big plays. And that combination led to 48 points.
You said after the game that really you can't blow this team out if it's a straight game. They had to help, and they helped with turnovers.
They helped with turnovers and partially blocked punt and punt return for a touchdown, fumble. Those things are eventually going to kill you. At the same time, we didn't